Hello, everybody. Paul Vibes here, local motivational speaker and host of the People's Podcast. We have some amazing guests today. We got Beth, we got my friend John, we got Henri, some amazing people throughout the community doing some really unique things. If you are interested in being a guest or sponsoring our show, or if you just want to subscribe and follow us, be sure to check out our different social media pages. If you want to reach out to us about anything, you can contact me at paulvibestalks@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Thank you. Peace, guys. We got to send some love to the camera. Yeah. Cool. All right. Welcome to the show, Dr. Beth Dolginko. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Very good to be here.
You have a lot of cool stuff. I've known you for a while, and It turns out you have an amazing book out.
Yes, sir.
And tell us what you did to lead up to this. I know you're a licensed art therapist.
Yeah. I'm an art therapist in New York State. Creative arts therapists are licensed all together, and they're called LCATs. And so that would include music therapists, drama therapists, dance and movement therapists, poetry therapists. And I'm also credentialed nationally through the American Art Therapy Association. I'm a board-certified registered art therapist. And I've been doing this for 45 years. I started working in 1974. I started my master's and actually started working because my internship turned into my first job.
Wow, congratulations.
And my first job was in a state hospital with people with developmental disabilities because I was on the Willowbrook task force, and we went over to Willowbrook after the Geraldo Rivera expose.
Yeah, I watched that documentary multiple times. Scary thing to watch. Too,
it was very scary, but New York State had to respond, and so the Willowbrook consent decree was a mandate from New York State, and what they did was to begin to return everybody that was in Willowbrook to their county of origin, as well with some of the other big state, they used to call them state schools. So there was Letchworth, a couple of other ones, Wassaic State School. So the people there all had some kind of what they called mental retardation in those days, or developmental disabilities, and it was a catch-all. Some people were there from birth. Some people were placed there at some point in their lives. And basically, when I say placed there, they stayed there. So when the expose by Geraldo Rivera happened, New York State had to respond and started first sending people back to their counties of origin, but putting them into smaller facilities called intercommunity facilities. So that's what I worked in. And the idea was that they were supposed to come from the large institutions to the ICF, intercommunity facility, and then we prepared them to go out into the community. It was quite challenging.
I can't imagine what that experience was like.
It was quite interesting, just even going over to Willowbrook and seeing such a gigantic state institution.
What was the defense with that? I mean, you couldn't really defend something like that, the horrific things that were happening there.
No, but it was really just no laws or policy really existed to protect a lot of people. And really in the 70s that began, and it first started with people who were developmentally disabled, but then it kind of continued into psychiatric and mental health. So as well, the large state hospitals started to, get smaller. People didn't stay forever, and people were moved back into the community. The people with developmental disabilities were moved back with a greater success level. Mental illness is another issue, and people with mental illness had more difficulty. But as I said, some of these people grew up in institutions. They were remarkable. They were the ones who actually called Geraldo Rivera.
Wow.
And I talk about that in the book. They just were sick of it, and they called ABC, CBS, NBC, the New York Times, the Daily News, and the New York Post themselves. These were the residents of Willowbrook, the so-called retarded people. Wow. And Geraldo Rivera listened. And that was really, in a way, also the beginnings of investigative reporting. So he came and that really shut down a lot of institutions, where they started really phasing out those type of institutions.
Right,
and moving people into the community, or at least making more reasonable. Places like Pilgrim still have people that stay there for a long time. That I know that's psychiatric, but it still is more humane, smaller,
more funding,
much
more resources, things like that.
Much greater staff ratio. So, I mean,
you see a lot more, especially today, and it's funny because we have guests that are, relating to community outreach and community connections and things like that. You see a big pull towards that type of those type of connections.
Right.
Staff working with individuals out in the community, working one-on-one, helping them with their life skills or social skills.
That's right. But none of that would have happened if the Willowbrook expose had not happened. And then also, sort of at the same time, special education was coming into law on a federal level. You started to have the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And then that was put into whatever iteration each state put it in. New York State being one of the best as far as dealing with people with special education needs. So that sort of all kind of happened in the 70s, and it really did make a change in terms of people being more included into the community.
Definitely.
And, you know, it just, like you said, there were more support. And even just as far as special education goes, if you look at the schools, at least New York State has transition services, right?
Definitely.
So
they've
start
definitely,
in
these
middle
last few
school.
years, you see a lot more improvements.
That's right. And people are in schools. You know, back in the day, people weren't in schools. You know, or there was like one classroom, like in the basement, that everybody was there, regardless of what diagnoses they had.
Yeah. And did this work ultimately lead you to do things with the art therapy?
Well, no, I was an art therapy student
Okay.
and then became an art therapist. And so I always did use art therapy, and the creative arts therapies really work well with anybody who has difficulty expressing themselves verbally.
I think everybody enjoys art. I mean, there's very few people that I say hate art.
Well, honestly, when a lot of people are adults, they don't want to do art.
They're too busy. They don't have time to sit down.
No,
and slow
it's
down.
really.
You see a lot of this wine and paint things. You see a lot of those.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that's kind of a good idea. But you know, as long as people don't drive home. But I also have worked in many settings: special education, early childhood, and behavioral health or
I've
psychiatric.
seen you over the years. You have a lot of different workshops you do. And
right. Well, now we're licensed in New York State, like I said, as an LCAT, and so we have to have continuing education. So I'm a registered New York State provider for LCAT continuing education. You know, social workers can't come to me, mental health counselors can't, but creative arts therapists can. And as I said, you know, it's just one of those things where people, you know, once they get to be 7th or 8th grade, if they don't do art well, they don't do it anymore. So when I worked with adults in behavioral health, I had trouble sometimes getting people to do art, but people will try it if you kind of say it's a judgment-free zone. And also, you know, like I said, the other creative arts therapies are wonderful. Drama therapy, dance and movement therapy.
We did that with the Buddy Club at one point. We were doing those type of act. You know, they get together and we get to perform different plays and different little acts together. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of drama therapy.
Showstoppers,
But they're LCATs.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, so then I continued through the years, and what I became very aware of is that there's lots written about kids with autism, but not adults. So when I started going to art therapy conferences or whatever and doing presentations on adults with autism spectrum disorder, people like flocked to my workshops because they were starving for it. It's like, I have one friend he's like, I'm the fan club, I'm your president of your fan club, because you know, he would come to all my presentations because he works with adults.
Well, you see that. You see a lot of people who are a bit older saying, I wish they had the resources, they had the classes, they wish they had the tools to diagnose different things at a younger age, so they could have gotten the correct help early on. Right. You know, and that what led to you. So this is, I'm guessing, your years of work in the field.
Well, what happened was, you know, a few years ago, I did a presentation at the art therapy conference called, you know, art therapy. It was actually called Creative Neural Landscapes, because they were focusing on sort of the neurodiversity is kind of a big thing now, and Temple Grandin is sort of an advocate of that. And so the Art Therapy Association asked me if they could record my presentation and use it for their continuing ed institute. So that's now recorded, and that.
How long was that segment?
Probably about an hour. And then a year ago, at the same conference rather, Jessica Kingsley Press was there, and they contacted me right at the conference, and they were like, you know, this is really an area that needs more written, and so they offered me the contract. I
hope you don't mind. I went to this random page in the book, and I really like this one sentence here. If you don't mind, I read it.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Every person brings personal history into a treatment situation. An awareness of the path of typical human development must be understood to be able to support a patient's differences in developmental history. It's really interesting. It's true. I think that you need to really take an individual approach when you're helping individual. I mean, you can't just take a cookie cutter way of fixing someone or helping someone or aiding someone, because everybody is very unique in their needs and accommodations.
It's true, but the way that I work is really I'm also a psychoanalyst, so I work from a developmental perspective. And I think that started right away when I was working for New York State. You know, it was Queens Developmental Center was the facility. And just seeing differences in development, and then seeing, for example, one of the men who brought in media to Willowbrook had cerebral palsy. And I would say he had Asperger's. He wasn't necessarily diagnosed with that because they just kind of threw people into...
Back then, they didn't have the resources.
He clearly had cerebral palsy. That was enough for them. And he just was very, very, he's very, very smart. But at the same time, he socially and emotionally was at a much earlier level of development because he grew up in an institution. So actually in the book, I call it like developmental layering, because somebody is 28 years old and maybe they have a job, but maybe they can't read. So they're
functioning at different levels.
You have to kind of pay attention to those different levels and adjust the therapeutic interventions
based on their needs.
And that's not just true with people with autism. It's true with
people
all
with learning
the patients I
disabilities.
work
And even
with.
my school, and I have an IEP, and I work I have certain accommodations that are there to help me, in a way, level the playing field, because everybody has strengths, everybody has weaknesses, and the idea is, you see a big movement today. The schools are willing to do whatever it takes to help you be as successful.
That's right.
But unfortunately, it does. That creates opportunity for people to maybe take advantage of the resources, and that's a whole nother
My
conversation.
attitude is, if there's those people that are going to take advantage, then good for them, and whatever.
As long as it doesn't ruin
there's
it
so
for the
many
people,
other people that have benefited from the advantages that policy change and legislation and education have created. So it's like one of those things where it's like, there's always the scammers.
There's always that person. So towards the end of this, I wanted to actually really talk more about this book, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Next time we should have a little display to kind of. I'm modeling the book today.
There you go.
It looks good.
You Vanna White, huh?
I like it. I like the. So tell us, a little bit more about this book, and maybe what people can expect from reading this. Where could they find it? Things like that.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a page turner. If you're, an art therapist, you might find it a lot more interesting than if you do something else with your life. But I would think anybody that's in any kind of mental health field might find it interesting, or maybe applicable to the work that they do. As I said, I work from a developmental perspective. So in the beginning of the book, I kind of talk about different levels of development as well as different levels of art development. And specifically for this book, because it's supposed to be adults, I don't really talk about the earlier levels, but more like sort of latency age, like school age, adolescence,
the stages now.
and then the stages of adulthood.
Yeah.
And because that's
also
what I'm talking about
if it was all about kids and they're reading this book, and as an adult, like, this is all great, but how can I make positive changes in my life right now? What can I do now?
Well, they'd have to read another book, because my focus is...
They might need to make another one, though. You never know.
Well, actually, I am writing another book.
Right.
I'm under contract with Routledge Press to write I'm writing a book about the applications of developmental art to art therapy interventions. So stay tuned. That should be
maybe we'll have you back on to talk about that book.
Sure.
Now, where can people maybe find this book, or also find workshops, or contact you? What kind of services are you offering currently?
Well, as an art therapist, I do therapy with people of all ages and all different kinds
Walks of life.
Emotional lives. But if it's somebody with autism, they can often get the services paid for through
Insurance?
Probably Medicaid
Medicaid,
through transition services, self-directed services, or somehow paid under their self-directed accounts.
Perfect.
So, if somebody called me and they wanted to be in therapy, I could direct them to. I would certainly work with them, even if they were self-pay, whatever. I'm willing to. But if they wanted to have it paid through their self-directed services, I would help.
That's great.
There's parents and brokers that I work with who can get that all in place for them.
Perfect.
But I also am, as I said, a registered provider for New York State licensed creative arts therapy continuing ed, so I do that. And I am writing a lot these days.
Where can people reach out to you? Email, a number? What's the best way?
Email, yeah, I think...
and I can post that in the description of the video. I'll
Okay,
post that.
sure. So the best way to contact would be my email, which would be ddolginko. It's ddolginko at AOL.com. And my number is 631-754-2278. And just so you guys know, it is a landline.
Yes. No, don't text that number. Right? You're not gonna get a response.
And this is a book that's available through Amazon.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Perfect. I think we may have heard that once or twice, Amazon. It's a pretty popular thing.
Yeah.
So people go on Amazon to get your book. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want to say to the viewers about maybe your workshops or different services?
No, just if you want to know. I also have a website, which I certainly couldn't say that off.
I'll put that in the description.
You can
Don't
put
worry.
that down.
Listen, you couldn't say the website. I had trouble with your last name. We're even now, okay?
So, but it's you know, I've been very impressed by the work you're doing, and I appreciate it. And you know, I did do some groups I started doing SEPTA groups like years ago, and then when everybody was kind of aging out, I kept some groups going.
I heard that, yeah.
But it's hard because it was drop-in. So
Yes.
sometimes I'd have one person, sometimes I'd have 7, 8, 10. But I also, unfortunately, the reality of the world is insurance. My husband was getting nervous about people going up and down because I had like video games upstairs.
Yes, we have cool. I've been to your house a few times that you're hanging out with your son, and you have this cool wooded area in the back. We play airsoft and
and we have Max's trains down in the basement, and so just my husband was getting a little nervous with people going up and down stairs or coming up a icy driveway. So as much as I would have liked to kept the groups going, and like I said, I didn't care if one person showed up.
Yeah, you do it because you enjoy doing it. Yeah.
But I did get a little nervous about that.
Okay. Well, thank you, Beth, for coming on. People can please reach out. They've got the book on Amazon. And I look forward to connecting with you and becoming better friends and learning from you as I go through the social work department, get my degree.
Yes, definitely.
So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You a hugger? I'm a hugger.
Sure.
Very cool. Just stay here for a second while we get some B-roll footage. Very cool. Dr. Henri, welcome to the show. Give me some love.
Yeah,
thanks.
Good to see you, Paul. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. When I started the show, you were one of the first people I thought we met at the Velvet Lounge in East Setauket. You were raising some money for a great thing that you do, which I want you to talk about. But it blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome.
I was raising money for Mission Life International. They're a group I'm on the board of directors with right now. And we have an orphanage in Haiti. I'm partnered with a man, the amazing Dr. Peter Morgan. None of you guys would know him, but I could go on forever just on the work he does. And it's something that kind of found me about 5-6 years ago. And I've since been to Haiti 13 times. I'll be down there again the end of December. And the work that I do down there, there's a couple of things, but we've built the only chiropractic orphanage in the world through fundraising and stuff like that. And we feed and house and clothe and educate at times up to 29 kids. We employ a few people who work there. And the other part of that is that I'm a chiropractor now for 31 years. And we bring Dr. Morgan and he's been down there 96 times, this incredible guy. But we have mission trips, which are not like the traditional Christian trips, even though they were very spiritual. And on Sunday mornings, we're usually in a church in Haiti and doing, very spiritual people. But it's not really a Christian mission trip. We're chiropractors, and we have students from different chiropractic colleges around the country and around the world even come to these trips where, like the last trip, I supervised about 40 students, myself, Dr. Morgan, right? I post some stuff on Facebook to show people what we're doing. And that part of the trip is I'm helping these young people who are studying to be chiropractors to become the great chiropractors they'll be one day, but just help them to get there a whole lot quicker and faster, not just through our mentorship, but because we go to these different sites where we're known as the touch healers.
You're literally healing with your hands. It's not like a very religious...
that's chiropractic means done by hand. So down there, we're not encumbered by all the red tape and insurance and paperwork and all the stuff that really has nothing to do with people who do hands-on healing. And we adjust. The last trip, we estimated that we adjusted 33,000 children in 8 days. And of course, here in the United States, you'd say, well, why would these children need adjusting again? The people in the United States have no idea what chiropractors do, or at least chiropractors like me who practice chiropractic in a most traditional form. The short and sweet of that is that your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, your nervous system controls everything your body does every second of your life. It's pretty much ignored by the medical community. It's the whole focus of what I do.
Sounds a little important. Sounds like we should be worried about
it's extreme. I can use a lot of different examples, but I use myself. I went to a medical doctor for the first time in 14 years recently because I'm going to be 60, and I thought it might be a good idea to get a colonoscopy. There are things that chiropractors, of course, align with in the medical world, as well. But I was sitting in the doctor's office, and I'm back in the room, and the physician's assistant comes in, and she's at the computer, and she says, I see you're 59 years old. Yes. You don't take any medications? No. You don't take anything over the counter? No. There's nothing. There are no boxes checked. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong. I'm here to get a colonoscopy. And she was like, what do you mean I can be 59 and have nothing wrong? And I said, well, I've been seeing a chiropractor for the last 35 years pretty regularly. And yes, of course, my back hurts less than most other people, but it's not really about your back. It's about your brain being able to communicate with every cell in your body optimally so it knows what to do. And that's why everybody should see a chiropractor. They should be checked right after they're born, which is something we do in Haiti when we have the opportunity. Another side thing is that we've been working with a group called Mama Baby Haiti, where they've been spearheading in third world countries, or at least down in Haiti, trying to decrease the percentage of women who die giving birth to babies. And a lot of times it's just because they're not getting care and they're not getting simple services that having a baby, it's not a medical condition, but it's nice for a woman to have somebody who understands what's going on to be there and help. And
resources and services for them.
And on our side, I was just down there checking and adjusting a lot of pregnant women. The main thing that we do as chiropractors is in areas where they're not able to do ultrasounds, through palpation, through feeling. I can now feel where the baby is. I can tell you whether at 6 months, whether the baby's head is down or it's spun the wrong way up. And then there are certain techniques of pressing ligaments. Famous chiropractor Larry Webster is one of the people who came up with these techniques. But I was just down there. I adjusted like 40 women, and there weren't any babies that were born at that time, but we're adjusting newborns, and again, it's so gentle. We're not down there on these
they
little.
Make it look like that on YouTube. They make it look like they're doing some crazy stuff.
No, they don't. What you're probably referring to is that a doctor in Australia did something that was a beautiful thing, but he happened to have the baby. One of the ways to check the spine in an infant without muscle tension is I don't hold them upside down, but you kind of tip them down and let the head. And this guy, it was a little nothing. And the craziness of it is that while they're looking to make it law in Australia that no child under 12 should be allowed to see a chiropractor, when they polled something like 400,000 people who had brought their kids, they had a 98% completely happy at the services of the doctor. It's just, I want
to ask you something.
Go ahead.
There was this video of you, and I think we want to try to clip it into your segment here. You were adjusting, I think, an 80 or 90-year-old woman.
No, she had just turned 100.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That was amazing. That video. Can you talk about that a little bit? We're going to play it in this video. But
love it. Yeah, there's actually two videos. This is one of those situations where they dropped me and one student at a hospital. We were on the Dominican Republic side. We're right on the border. Sometimes we're doing work over there as well. We're on the Dominican Republic side. They dropped the two of us at a hospital that we had never been to. We don't know exactly what it's going to be. And there's 120 people waiting to get adjusted. And it's me and a pretty competent student. But it's like
a lot of people.
So I understand right away what needs to get done. I get the student in a room and I say to the, and my Spanish is, I'm not fluent, but I'm pretty good. I can say the things I need to say. Anybody that's just here because their lower back bothers them, you're going to go in the back room with Paris. Her name is Paris, graduating very soon. If you're out there, Paris,
Shout out.
to all the students, by the way, they're amazing. But anyway, we in like 100-degree weather, I had just worked my ass off for about 4.5 hours, blowing through
Before that. During this experience.
Yeah. So that the people and everybody else comes to me, and because of the situation, I'm adjusting people's necks in the chair, and it's. But in any event, at the end, a woman of about 60 says that her grandmother had a stroke, and so right off the bat, I'm like, fine, let's go.
Where is she?
Yeah. So they lived a few miles up the road. We get there. And I find this 99-year-old woman laying in a bed, barely conscious. Wow. She's not really talking, but making some noises and stuff. And sure enough, I check her and I adjust her. And again, here in the United States, they'll tell you that people who've had strokes, chiropractors shouldn't touch. Every person with a stroke should be adjusted by a chiropractor, not the guy at the gym who cracks their back. Somebody like me who's been doing this for 30 years, who can put my hands on anybody and influence their body in a positive way. So anyway, I adjust the woman, and she immediately, you see in the video how she starts kind of talking, and she becomes well, the next time. So anyway, this is the first time I'm down there in July. I come back in October. I have no idea if the woman is still alive, but sure enough, we make our way and we get there. We surprise the family. They were like, they couldn't believe I was there, but she's still alive. She hadn't moved or no contact with anybody in over a day. I go in, I had different students, different trip, and I check her, and sure enough, we do one little thing, the top bone in the neck, and you can watch the video. I don't rip her head around. There's no reason to ever do anything like that. No, it's the tiniest little thing, but it's the tiniest little thing exactly where it needs to be with the right amount of force in the right direction. And I didn't see it because I was looking at the woman, but as soon as I do this tiny little move, the arm comes up. And you watch the breathe, and that's when I realized she was kind of getting as conscious as she was going to be. I mean, the woman could have died any second. She's 100 years old. She had a stroke 3-4 months ago. But like I said to the students, I said, if she's let's let her family hang with her. And if you want to show that, great. There are a lot of people in my profession who don't like videos of adjusting being shown. They think that kids are going to go home and try it, or I mean, it's to me, it's kind of silly. I'm trying to show that a 100-year-old person who has had a stroke can have somebody like me who has 30 years experience doing this with incredible training and whatever you want to say.
But watching it, I got to say, just from outside of looking in, no experience in this field, the expression on her face, the body language, because I'm seeing from a different point of view than you are. You're kind of in it. It almost looked like there was a sense of just release and just like a sigh. And she didn't say much. She didn't jump up and, oh my God, of course not. She's 100 years old. But in that moment, you can tell that there was just this moment that she had, and you were there with her, and the energy you were giving off before it. And I want to talk to you about that, because this show, we talk a little bit energy, the spiritual aspect, energy. When you're adjusting these different people, how much of it would you say is that energy, that spiritual connection with that other person, rather than just the hands on the person?
Great question, Paul.
But I want to know for you is, how has your experience changed as you learned and got deeper into your practice?
I'm improving all the time. And right now, the improvements that I make aren't so much because my physical skills, my abilities to feel and know. It's about my ability to focus, connect. It's the intention that I have, that when I'm putting my hands on them, most of the time when I'm doing the most important thing, which is aligning the usually top bone or top 2 bones in your neck, my eyes are closed. I see those bones. I see exactly what I'm looking to do. And it's, while you don't get that same response out of, if I were to adjust to any of you guys, especially if you've never been adjusted, most of the time the thing I hear is wow. People go wow, and then they smile, and it's like kind of thing.
Can I put you in the spot? You like being, can I put you in the spot to do something to my
What, you want me to adjust you?
Yeah, can you do it right now on the show?
Sure.
Let's do it. Do you need to be talking during it?
Just
wish me luck, guys.
Just sit there. Good. Okay, he's left atlas. Okay, so this is C4. I'm going to bring your head up. Good. This is all very gentle. If you watch how much force I use, just let your head fall to the side. Just let it kind of fall. Good. Easy.
Whoa.
Well, it wasn't wow, it was whoa.
Whoa.
Okay, good. Is he smiling like a goon? Good. Same. Easy. Nice. Gentle.
Wow.
Power's on.
I just have nothing to say. I feel like a new person.
So
It really
again,
does.
you could say, "Wow, he took 10 seconds. He didn't take an X-ray." Blah 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 blah. I go down to Haiti with students who are learning, and we'll adjust 33,000 children in a week. You know how many calls and complaints we get? You know how many children we injure? None. And to all the people who might be out there who are thinking, when they go speak to somebody who may not know chiropractic or may not like chiropractic, but they speak to some health professional about it, and the health professional brings up, well, you can bring your child to the chiropractor, but they might paralyze them. My question then is to that health professional. You should ask them, really, and how many children have you seen paralyzed or injured by chiropractors? And you know what the answer is going to be? None. 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 And the kids that we help and the people that we help, I kind of jokingly have said to people, I used to be with the Chamber of Commerce in Three Village community. An amazing woman, Yvonne Spreckles, I think is her last name, does PR for Stony Brook Hospital, that does so many of these different crazy, amazing things. And I once said to her, how many medical doctors do you have affiliated with Stony Brook University? She said, it's probably about, with admitting privilege, maybe about 10,000. I said, how many of them are chiropractors? And, she said, well, none. And I said, why do you think that is?
Yeah, why?
They'd have empty beds. We're bad for business. When your nervous system communicates whatever is wrong has its best chance of going right, and if your nervous system doesn't communicate, it's like trying to get the light bulb on the light to work, but the switch on the wall is off. It doesn't matter if you change the bulb or rewire,
the connection.
flip the switch on. We're the guys that flip on the switches, and sometimes it's dramatic and immediate. Sometimes it takes time. And for the people who go to chiropractors and then decide that, you know what, I'm feeling great, I'm fixed, and you disappear. Well, you know what? You have the same habits that brought you to why you probably went to the chiropractor in the first place. If you've been suffering for 10 or 20 or 30 years with something, and you go to somebody like me, and you find out in a matter of a week, you're feeling 70, 80% better, or in a month or two, you're feeling 80, 90% better, why is your first goal to stop coming?
No, you want to keep that.
If you stop taking good nutritional products and eating healthy foods,
I ate a salad once, I'm good.
You don't get the
I'm
benefits.
done.
If you stop going to the gym, you stop getting the benefits.
I had one protein shake. I'm done for the year.
That's it?
No, but you're
okay.
You're the type of guy, every time I see you, always have good energy. You're always willing to help people. You're always doing the charity work. And as you know, I do the similar stuff, and it's changed me. And it's kind of like chiropractic. If you're doing it and it works, why stop? You got to keep it going. You got to be consistent with it. For people who are watching this and that want to reach out to you and maybe try for the first time or maybe switch to you, what's the best way in getting contact with you?
I've been branded. I am now drhenri.com. Henri is with an I, DRHENRI.com.
And we'll post your number. We'll also post this information too.
I don't practice full-time anymore. I stopped about 2 years ago when I started increasing the amount of mission work that I was doing. I've kind of morphed to where I'm in an office in Port Jeff, usually 1 or 2 days a week, but I also take on special cases. Sad, I've got a gentleman who broke his neck. The medical people did an amazing thing to save his life, but he's got plates and the whole thing, but he's pretty much paralyzed from the nipple line down.
Wow.
And I've been starting to work with him. We're hopeful that he'll get back as close to full as possible. That's, again, my job is just to align things and let the nervous system work freely. After that, it's not
and
really
I
up
gotta
to
say,
me.
I gotta say, after what you just did there, I've always had problems. Luckily, nothing with an injury or anything, sport injury. But every once in a while, my neck will get very tight, and I just noticed after that adjustment, my posture, I feel a little better, and I just feel less tension in my neck. Okay, so we will be posting all your information in the description. I appreciate you coming on. I hope that you come back on down the road as a guest again. But thanks for coming on. Bring it in. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. All right. He said no kisses, but it almost looked like you went for a kiss.
We both went the same.
Cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers. You're welcome.
All right. Welcome, Trevor and John, to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
You guys, I've been wanting you guys to come on for a while. You guys have an awesome center that you're going to talk about. And there's a lot to talk about. You guys do a lot of different things, but I want to hear from you guys how you guys kind of came together and made the center, and if you could talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Well, we're both support brokers, with self-directed services, under the umbrella of OPWDD, and we've been working in tandem. I consider Trevor my partner, even before, the center was built, and we were looking for office space, and I had found a spot in Middle Island, and I think you'd think I was crazy when I took you there the first time, because it was dilapidated, and I just kind of like, he believed in my vision. Like, I'll give him that. Like, he wasn't looking at me like I was crazy.
A little crazy. Good crazy. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? We made it work, man.
Yeah.
Two weeks of hard work referishing the center, and we made it work.
Looks great.
The building opened up August 1st, and we came into it with the mindset to create a gathering place for folks that are self-directed. And
Can you
just
talk
anyone.
more about that for people who don't know what self-directed is? Can you maybe go into a little bit about
well,
what that
in New
is?
York State, there's a home and community-based waiver service under OPWDD called self-directed services, where the person who receives services can direct their own services. They have a circle of support, and they hire a broker, and that broker writes goals and writes safeguards around that person, and then the family chooses the staff. And then they are directing their own services, very different from some of the stuff we were talking about earlier in the show, where
it's come a long way since that.
Institutionalization. They made that move for community services, and here we are, two guys writing plans for people, and I really followed all of your work. I've always considered,
we've been big fans of each other.
Thank you. And I told Trevor on the way here, I was like, we would always send each other random texts, try to, collab as much as we could, but our work always was like so aligned. Like you were just in Northport.
We weren't so close by, but you're always supporting me, and you've always been extremely generous and supportive. Even though you have your own family, you got a lot going on, you weren't able to be at every event.
Yeah.
You supported us in many different ways.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
But it was sort of along the same lines of, here we were setting up social groups, like you and I both, and really wanted to build community amongst
and
the
to talk about, for
self-directed.
the people watching this that may not be from our groups of Buddy Club and your center, can you talk about some of the events that you would hold and things like that?
I was working for a different foundation, and I would host different events at Dave & Buster's and local parks, and we tried to have things be very, very easy and very cheap and very cost effective to the people coming to the events. And in that spirit, when I approached Trevor and I was like, we're going to make an office, but we could just have like a ton of people come there and just have fun. And like the idea was kind of born. And August 1st, we opened the doors, and our mindset was completely inclusive environment. We want people to come and just have fun. And we
from all
really
walks of life,
pushed
from
that.
everybody.
We've had my son's best friend. They approached me about bringing down a troop of Boy Scouts for like a fitness night, because I have some background in fitness, and one of our best DSPs is a fitness trainer, and he helped me that night with the group, talking to them about warming up, and we ran outside in the parking lot a little bit and did some stretching. So like, in the spirit of an inclusive environment, we had 15, neurotypical kids that were there.
Well, that's the point of a good center. It's not just open to people with different disabilities, strengths, weaknesses. You're opening the doors to everybody.
And that's what we're trying to promote, is community inclusion. You don't have to be neurotypical. We're all one big community at the end of the day, and that's pretty much.
I like
our goal for the center.
at this place called Thrive that I volunteer at. It's this thing, the sign in the bathroom, outside the bathroom. It says, we don't care whatever you are, just wash your hands. And like, the point,
Very true.
I think if you can order online, I
Yeah,
too.
I want to get that sign.
That's actually good. That's
really
think of me
cool.
every time you go and use the bathroom. But it's funny because that's what we have so many labels in today's society, and like you said, we've come a long way since those institutions. And it was before my time, but to watch the documentaries on Willowbrook and the different things, and we're gonna have Beth come on and talk as a group here. To see how much the world has changed. But as you talk about, you're always fighting the good fight. You're always fundraising for different. You guys are fundraising together for these different people, helping to find apartments. And it seems like you're always doing charity work. And I really look up to you, like a big brother, especially.
It means a lot.
People like you are what inspired me to have this show.
Oh, thank you.
And
it means a lot. Well, and I want to just to say that it's really cool how much you've grown, and that now here we are on a show that you're trying to do. We're trying to do the People's Podcast, and I said, we've always had this similar lineup of our work, and that this is more of a visual representation and showing people what great services are out there, whether it's a chiropractor that could help you out, or
an author.
Exactly. So that's very, very cool, subject matter you guys are trying to cover.
And we've spoken about this too, down the road. Having people from your center, whether it's, you're talking about being a sponsor of the show, whether it's highlighting different people from the group that you want to come on and give them, whether it's to promote a fundraiser, to promote them, or just give them an opportunity to share their story. I think that's
I like that
important.
idea,
Yeah, I mean, we have so many people that come to the center. We have a young man that works there. We're really proud to say that we employ 6 folks that happen to have, unique abilities, disabilities. They're on payroll.
You see a lot of people that try doing that, but they can't.
Oh no,
they can't make it work.
We just cut the first checks. We're going to put up some posts on Facebook.
Amazing.
But we have self-directed individuals that work at the center, and we're proud to have them because they are welcoming other members, and they're just saying, "Hey, let's have fun. Let's welcome people." And that's, it's great. We have a gentleman who works there who is going to be providing a community class in cooking. Wow. We teamed up with this group called the Long Island Crafty Ones, and they just make art out of anything. And we have fitness trainers that have helped people with health and wellness. But we really want to kind of like corner a niche where if there's a provider and they are into basket weaving, that they could weave baskets there. And if that's what your thing is, you would come in and
you might get some good ideas from guests we've had on the show.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do like a open mic night.
Yeah.
We've spoken about possibly giving a talk at your facility.
Oh, yeah.
Event.
You guys
we should
are more
work
than
out.
welcome to.
That's something that I think with the show too is I would love to have kind of like a wellness or spiritual fair, community fair where we have chiropractors, we have acupuncturists, we have art therapists, we have authors.
Oh yeah.
And with not just anybody, but people that are focusing on themes of wellness and self-development and improvement.
Yeah.
We'll talk. People look back at this video. I remember when they were talking about it.
But I wanted to just kind of touch on this while we were here, in that we named the community center, the Nitz Community Center, because we knew a gentleman who was self-directed, and we named the building after him, because in his spirit, he was very kind, very gentle dude, and he touched a lot of people's lives while he was here, especially me. It was a tremendous influence on learning about how social skills and how being social and being a friend can really, help you just grow as a person. And here I am with the Buddy Club guy. like if anyone gets it, it's you.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really pushing at the Nitz Community Center, is that it is an open place and people can come. And I invited the one gentleman who works at my local post office. He's an author. And I was like, I know someone, I support someone who wants to be a writer, and he's never really got off the ground with it. Please just come to the center and meet him. And he was totally into it. And he came in and talked to me and Trevor for a half hour and was so into the idea. I bumped into a friend of mine today who is a musical genius, and he's an actor, a very creative spirit. And I was like, you need to just come in and jam out on your acoustic guitar, and then people are going to beg you to work with them.
Yeah,
exactly.
It sounds like you're having your own people's podcast over there. It's in a way. It's a center that everyone's welcome. You're willing to try new things. I think the biggest issue is whether it's a center or things like this, people get so closed-minded. It's all about this. I can't have other people on it. They want control of it.
Sure.
I think doing what we do in the community allows people to say, hey, listen, I may not be talented this way, but I have this skill. Can I showcase that talent?
Yeah.
Actually, I have a couple buddy members that young adults with special needs who I went went to high school with who want to come on and just be like, "I just come on and talk about it." I'm like,
That's awesome.
That's great.
And that's kind of why I referenced that this is like a visual representation of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Where our building and what we're doing together as a team is more of a physical manifestation. It's like that place just exists. That if you want somewhere to come,
to gather and
feel comfortable, and just literally, we made jokes that like the first week, all I did was like flip water bottles and like ooze off with the members. But
I saw the video.
I wanted them just to
But
set
you're down
the
to
tone.
earth. I think that's the main. You know, I'm in the social work field, and you see, you know, I had this idea that all social workers are personable and present with you and in the moment, but that's not like that's not everybody.
Yeah, not
and
always.
you know, people like you inspire me to actually be a better social worker because you're the type of person. It could be any. You know, we all have good days and bad days, but
of course,
if you come in, if I'm talking to John, right, I know that the quality that he's going to give me, the energy he's going to put out, the presence he's going to be, and not everybody has that.
Thank you.
You know, that's not really something that can be taught either. It's one of those things. Sometimes you either have it or you don't.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to take a second. You know, where Trevor was a broker and is developing his caseload, and we teamed up on so many things, and I'd always come up with these crazy ideas, and like he would. But the thing is, everyone needs a yin to their yang. Like this is the Pole Vibe show, and I'll come up with these ideas, and he'll help me level them out and be like, well, we could do that, but
people like John, that's a great idea, but we're gonna do nothing like that.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, if there's anyone that really aligns with my vision, it's been Trevor. And when I pitched, the community center to him, this guy is a financial genius, very very intelligent with numbers,
and was so modest.
But I'm just saying, where he was like, well, we could do this, but we're gonna like literally make it to like the very very end of like the existence of the company's like finances. And
well, you gotta be smart. I mean, you have a great idea, but if you go into it too fast and you gotta have a good math genius with you.
Yeah, exactly. But it really did work itself out in that we got the doors open and people flooded in, and we were able to bill for an organizational membership through self-direction. And in the spirit of a community center, we say, here are our community class providers, here are our members, and this is just what we're doing here. People write on the walls.
Speak about more of the people, what people can expect from the different classes you offer. Do they just show up? Are they just times that you're open?
We do posts on Facebook and say, hey, the Long Island Crafty ones are here on Friday.
Okay.
We have a lady, her name's Isabella Pedra, and she has a class called Art Potential, and they're there on Thursdays and on Saturday when we're open. But as we've tried to establish, our network of providers, it could very easily be that like Trevor tells me, hey, I spoke to Paul, he wants to come and do a talk on Thursday, and then you're just there, and we try to push it, we try to promote it.
Awesome. So people watching this who maybe just want to donate their services, they have something they want to donate to the facility, they want to give a class, or maybe it's a young adult that wants to come. What's the best way of reaching out to Facebook, Instagram, email? What do you do?
We're on Facebook. It's you can look me up or look up Trevor.
We'll post it in the description,
I'm proud to say that we are on Google, and that was because of one of our members, and he set us up where it's the Nitz.
Yeah, he really helped us out with that.
So you have a website or not yet?
Not a website. No, we're working on that.
Cool.
But it's just called the Nitz Community Center. It's in Middle Island, and you type in Google, it pops right up and shows some of our pictures and stuff. So,
we each have our emails as well. Trevor Walker, TrevorWalker01@outlook.com.
I'll put it in the description. So
that'd be huge.
Numbers, address, I'll post emails.
And we did, bring some pictures. Maybe we'll show them at the discussion or in the video of just kind of like, we encourage people from day one when we opened to just write their names on the wall. And we wanted to have some motivation just while we're there working in the office to remember why we chose the career path we chose. Like,
that's my you don't go in this field of social work or related subjects for the money. You got to do it because you love it. And I think you guys can agree. I don't know about you, but there's been people in my life who've been supportive, but they're like, you sure it's the field you want to do? And usually those people don't have that experience, whether it's going to Haiti, or whether it's the art therapy, or whether it's opening up a center, or for me with the buddy club and as a speaker, it's one of those things where you don't really know it unless you've experienced it.
Definitely.
I agree. And it was kind of funny, just along with what you were saying. if you find something that you do every single day, like I always tell people, like you can't change the world, and it's a quote from a song. It's like, you can't change the world, but if you find something you love and you do it every day, like eventually there will be a change.
Your world changes.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And we've really found that, like that, we've had so many people come in and they've just had fun and feel comfortable, and that's like what we're going for.
Yeah.
And then they're just become regulars, and they have their days that they come up and they're there, and that's one group, and then another group is there and they're doing their own thing.
And what's important, and one thing I noticed when I ran my group as well, is that even if they drop in every couple of weeks, they have, life happens, and there's no judgment. There's no where have you been? We have animosity. No, it's you come when you want. There's no pressure to come, but anytime you come,
we're happy to have them whenever they would like to come.
Yeah, Trevor
it's
always,
their own personal resource.
He reminds me, it's a membership, and people can choose when they want to come, and we have a group like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they play a lot of pool, and they might be playing a lot of video games because
that's what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then another group is more.
We have like the Tuesday morning afternoon crowd that likes art more.
Play cards,
exactly.
Cards,
What I would like to do, we spoke in the talk, is one thing I'd love to do, a little fundraiser or just food and a talk. But also, please. I would love to come in December. We're filming one episode and just not one episode. We're filming one day of filming for the show. Is whether it's bringing somebody from the center on. Oh yeah. But also, I want to take my GoPro and film some stuff that we can use in the episode.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah,
more than welcome anytime.
We're gonna see you guys in the group discussion. But thanks for coming on, guys.
Sure,
Thanks. Bring it in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, man.
I'll shake your hand. I don't think you.
All right, guys, I just wanted to say thank you to you all for coming on the show. You guys, each one of you have an amazing story, amazing passions, and I'm just very thankful that I had the opportunity to have you guys on. I hope to have you guys on many more times throughout the months. One thing I like to do in this segment, like I mentioned before, is I like to have each of us kind of go around and share one thing that we thought was really interesting or inspiring, and I'll pick on John first, put you on the spot.
I mean, I feel like I left here and I learned just from both of you guys, just hearing about what you're into and what your life drive is about. It's amazing where from the talking about Willowbrook, I was sitting there welling up from watching videos when I was being trained when I worked at Little Flower, learning about the Willowbrook mandate, and then even health and wellness is a huge thing for myself. Having a medical issue or two that I've survived through, and hearing about just in general that chiropractic is something you should be doing for yourself on a regular basis. And I've heard that so many times. And, you ever have something just keep sending you a message?
The universe trying to say to you.
I kind of felt like I was sitting there like wrapping everything up. I was like, I'm glad we went last. It was kind of cool. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. It was nice being here and being able to talk to everybody.
I'm glad.
I like when I leave like an experience. I felt like I walked away knowing more than I did.
Definitely.
So by all means.
And you made it that way. I appreciate you being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think, Henry?
It's very cool how you had three very diverse people, but we're all about helping other people to overcome their challenges, whether they're health challenges or fitting into society challenges, or again, we're all about helping. It's great that you brought up Temple Grandin. A lot of people have no idea who she is. She's one of the most amazing people out there, and the work that she does as somebody who's in the box, so to speak, is really incredible. I love that you brought her up.
Well, I actually had the opportunity to hear her speak. She spoke at the Art Therapy Conference a few years ago, but she was also signing her books ahead of time. And only somebody with Asperger's could be like signing books and having her manager go like 5 minutes and just keep signing books, and the rest of us would be like trying to get she's doing a keynote address. But I told her I very much appreciated her pioneer work, and and really her mother is the one who kind of didn't give up on her. And I said because of people like you, my son has Asperger's, and I said he was able to go to college. He has a job. And she was like, he has a job. He has a job.
That's awesome.
And I go, yes. And he was, doing ISS work with self-directed people.
That's awesome.
And I told her that. And she goes, that's great. And then she's like, he's got a job. He's got a job. And she goes, does he like it? And I said, absolutely. She goes, and he likes it. He likes it. Because one of her big things is
that... Well, talk about her for people who are watching who don't know who she is.
Temple Grandin is a woman who's probably about my age. I'm 66. And she had autism, and excuse me, basically the school system was not going to do anything for her, and her mother was absolutely vigilant in getting her services, which those days, like I said, there was like a room in the basement where kids with Down syndrome
didn't exist, and they blamed the parents for these kids not being able to associate.
Right. So her mom just pushed and pushed, and she wasn't really, she wasn't even verbal, and she became verbal, a speaker, a writer. But she did, at one point, she wasn't feeling school, and so her mom sent her to live on her uncle's farm.
Wow.
And she worked on the farm, and she just developed this amazing connection to the animals that she actually developed a chute that is used, I believe, in 80% of the meat industry in the United States now, that helps the animal. It's kind of like a labyrinth shape.
It's a humane way to
It's a
slaughter
humane
cows.
way because, and she
to
shows
consume.
pictures. And she put herself into like these braces that held the cows for slaughter, and realized how much anxiety came up. And part of the problem of eating meat is the stress hormones that are produced when the cows are slaughtered.
That's why you don't eat a deer that's been hit by a car,
Right.
because the meat is
Stressed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's significantly decreased, and she, that stress on the animals, they don't, they just sort of go in a very sort of almost like hypnotic direction to the slaughter. But it
makes the process a little bit less.
it's more humane. There's less stress hormones released, and as I said, the meat industry has, for a very large part, adopted this, and. She just, like I said, she speaks. She's an engineer, really, but she can't do algebra, and
Neither can I.
she
I'm not
just
very good.
is like
she's an autistic who teaches other people with autism and the parents of children with autism. She's also a doctorate in animal husbandry, which has to do with the humane treatment of animals. And this is somebody who is autistic, who now is a college professor.
when you
and
saw
the name of the, I know we're spending a lot of time on Temple
but when
Grandin,
you
but
brought out her name
the name
up,
of the movie
the
is
hair
Temple
on my
Grandin.
neck stood up, where I was like,
She's
here's
incredible.
someone on my team, like, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, and it was just nice to be able to meet her and have her.
That's amazing.
Say, oh, he likes it, in that very autistic kind of way. But
Maybe
very
take
endearing.
a break from Walking Dead and check out a movie called Temple Grandin. It's
Yeah,
just
I
a
gotta
different,
absolutely. I gotta
just a
get
different way
I
to go,
think it's
kind of thing.
Claire
There was a
Danes,
Netflix.
Claire Danes.
Yeah.
I think she won an award. She's amazing. She does an amazing job.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like I said, it was just wonderful to meet her in person and hear her speak. And she works with NASA. I mean, she goes there and
Wow.
she says, she goes, that's Aspie heaven. Like she'll say this, like she's publicly speaking, and she just says
Has her moments.
stuff like
Cool.
that. Yeah, she's an incredible person.
And speaking about you, what do you find interesting about some of the people that were on today? What did you thought was really cool?
I do things like this, and I'm ready to like sign up and.
We come back. Come back.
I said to Henry, I want to get art therapy students and bring them down to Haiti.
should.
I would love to.
That'd be amazing.
I'd love to. And, the big push now is social justice, regardless, and cultural competence. And there's just so much more awareness that people have. And at least at this point, mental health professionals are learning these things in school or in practice. I would like everybody else to kind of get that idea that like social justice is an important thing.
Yeah.
And it's not really.
Sure.
And this is like what you guys do. And you said something like you go into this field not to get rich.
Yep.
You're never going to get rich.
Yep.
But it's, it's very satisfying. And I happened to be lucky. I wanted to do this from the time I was like 13 or 14. I was like, I like art. I like psychology. I didn't even know what it was called. I was like, I'm going to do this. And when I applied to graduate school, there were only 4 programs in the whole country.
Wow.
And at this
Wow.
point in
Come a long
time,
way.
there's like 5 or 6 just in the New York metro region.
One of our
Impressive.
brokers at Grassroots has a master's in education, but he's always been a talented artist. We have all of his artwork all over the center because we bartered, where he helped us with so much construction, and we probably owe him thousands of dollars, and he was like, look, just hang up my art, maybe it'll sell. And I was like, we're forever in debt to him. But he has a pretty cool Instagram, and he's a great broker. And it's amazing to hear that that's what he does as a DSP. Him and a gentleman that he supports have their own YouTube channel called Jag Tunes, and they recreated Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
No way.
And we have original artwork by the gentleman who's self-directed. It's all over our walls. So like I said, like sometimes I'm at work and I like need to like know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I just look at the wall and I'm like,
Right.
yep, that's why I'm here. You know.
That's right.
It's pretty
Inspires
cool.
you.
Right.
You hear about all these amazing people, and having you guys on and seeing about the people that you help in Haiti, or the people you help at the center, or the work that you've done. It just shows you how no matter what avenue in life that we take, no matter what path that we take, there's an opportunity to do good.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't matter
Sure.
whether you're a social worker, whether you're the mayor, whether you're a cop, whether you're an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, whatever you do in life, there's plenty of opportunity for you to be a healer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
There are so many opportunities every single day for any one of us to just lift up some other person in some way. And if we would all just try and make a habit out of that, little by little, communities change, the world changes. So, I like to say to people who are doing very, very well, the causes you believe in, write checks, write big checks. And if you can't even give $1, donate 2 or 3 hours, donate your time, even once a
That's
month.
right.
I promise you what you will get
Reminds me of
back in
John.
return.
Thank you.
Yeah, I promise you what you'll get back in return
Absolutely.
will far outweigh
Yeah.
the effort or writing the check.
I've
For sure.
never considered myself an artist. Like I have no real creative ability to draw anything or shape anything out of ceramics. But when we sat down and we really pushed the idea of the children's book with that broker Sean I was telling you about, after I was finished writing it, I literally felt better. I was like, this was a piece of something that he left that was sort of undone. And I'd only heard whispers that he had started to write a book, or he wanted to write a book, and then it didn't happen, and he passed on.
And to help him fulfill
Yeah.
that was,
Well, and the thing is the lesson that he had taught me was that of really how to just be a good friend. And it was more along the lines of he was always a better friend to you than you ever would be to him. And someone had said that to me at his funeral, and it really resonated. And I knew that he was working on something, but it never was finished. So I said, like, just in his spirit, we'll write a book for kids. And what we're hoping to do is have our brokerage have a series of books that will almost be like modified social stories that have to do with overarching life themes. So like this one was just how to be a good friend, where maybe someone on the spectrum, autism, Greek root auto, to oneself, sometimes it's easier to be wrapped up in what you have going on and what you're anxious about, but it just talking to someone about their day can make a big difference, So we're hoping that, to set up other like overarching themes of like dealing with bullies or dealing with like the loss of a parent, things along those lines.
And that makes me, think about the talks I give at schools, because I'm very passionate about that too. And I
Yeah.
talk about the power of connection, the power of overcoming challenges, and ultimately using our challenges to push us forward. And to me, I look back at I'm not on the spectrum, but I have a learning disability. I get extended time on tests, and I have some other accommodations that I need. It was all because of being, choked at birth by the umbilical cord. And there were parts in my life, and I think, and we all can agree, there's parts in our lives where at the moment, we're going through a challenge, and why this happened to me, and I wish this didn't happen to me. But ultimately, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those challenges.
Oh, yeah.
And as a speaker, I use my story, but I also give tools on how young adults can overcome it. But
that's great.
talks on leadership, talks on the power of community service, the talks on to businesses on the benefits, the return investment in businesses getting involved in local charities. A lot of these companies don't have the mindsets that we do of the importance of doing good. They want to know, what am I getting out of it? And
Absolutely.
I think we can agree on the research where the companies and businesses and the people that invest and take on or even volunteer, that return they get on their business is tenfold. I mean,
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. we really see this with the brokerage and how many DSPs are under our umbrella. That when we show the DSPs that we truly care about them and their happiness too, and that we want them to find an appropriate fit, it just resonates back so much more, like tenfold.
You want them to be
they're happy with what they're doing, and they're doing the right thing while they're in the community. So then it's a win-win, But if you invest in people wanting to feel good about the work that they do, it comes back tenfold,
100%.
And actually, a lot of the self-directed services are so unsupported. That was one of the things I was so aware of when my son was doing it. So it's good to hear something like this because they're out there by themselves. And so many times, I mean, even if it was filling in a worksheet or, mileage or something like that, my son would be like, what the heck? And my husband and I said to him, look, when we had jobs, you'd come into an office, there'd be 3 or 4 other people in the office, and you'd sit down. And if you didn't know how to do something, you'd go like, I don't know how to do this. Could you help me?
Yeah.
And if they didn't help you, you'd go to your supervisor. But a lot of the, direct service person are out there and they're not really.
Well, when you have someone like John, and John, even from my experience, I don't work directly under you in that way, but the things that we've done, I've always seen that you have the ability to like you said, to make sure the staff is happy and know what their job entails, and you were willing, you're the type of guy, you would help them, I'm sure, with the paperwork.
All the time. But, it's funny that, you mentioned, if you have a workplace and it's just an office and it's a cubicle and it's 4 people, it's easy to look over the cubicle and say, hey, Bob, can you help me with this? But what we've tried to do at Grassroots, and we could do an entire show on the brokerage and our mission statement, because that's where Trevor and I have connected and really put our heads together, is that self-direction is this amazing program, and it really can really empower people. And now a lot of parents view the ability to act as the employer. It's almost like one more thing to do. And what we're attempting to do at Grassroots is to just provide tailor-fit support brokerage services, train the staff really well, where then it's not a job for mom and dad, and then set up additional supports where the person is able to just call for help themselves if someone gets sick, and they want to just have a list of people to call, and it's very, very easy. We leave binders with all the families, and my mentality in life is things are as easy as you want to make them or as hard as you want to make them.
Absolutely.
So if you're coming in and you're a negative Nelly and then you see all the self-direction paperwork, of course you're going to
be overwhelmed.
Well, even if you're not a negative Nelly, I know so many parents who have never even applied for it because it is so overwhelming.
It's a process.
But it is what you make it and who you align with. That really is the case, I'm telling you, because we come in, Trevor and I sit down with families all the time, and we're like, take a deep breath. We got this. We're going to meet with every staff. They're going to know what they're doing.
That's
what
important.
you have to do is answer the phone for important stuff, tailor fit, much, much different than brokerage services that are out there that are existing. So
no, it's wonderful.
One thing I want to ask Henry, when you're working with these, we're talking about meeting people where they're at, whether it's families, whether it's individuals, and we spoke earlier about energy, and something I wanted to go over more with all of you is, how do you, when you're working with somebody, whether with disability, abilities they have, what age, what's the process in kind of filling out their level of comfortability and
that's
things
never
like
a
that?
problem. That's really never a problem. Most people in the United States, or any of the patients I've seen over 30 years, most of the people are coming in at this point by referrals.
So they know exactly what they need to do.
They've heard a good thing about me one way or another. They come in. I try to put people at ease right out of the gates. I let them know, first of all, you tell people what's going to happen before it happens. You tell them what's going on while you're doing it. Yeah. And then also you're there to answer a question if they have it after the fact. But it's really for me, it's very simple. It's also very interesting if you're talking more about the chiropractic part, that we go to countries where, I know enough to tell them how to lay down and turn on your side and
how to
things,
sleep at
things
night
like
without
that.
pillows.
No. I don't speak Creole. I can't tell people about pillows and going home at night. All I do is I have to tell them to lay down. That's pretty much. How much should I have to tell you to do to adjust and align your neck?
You tell me. I don't know. You tell me.
You pretty much have to sit there. Sit there.
Right.
And then when I take your head and I go like this and I say, just let it fall to the side. That's about it.
Much better, I have to say.
yeah, it seemed like you had like the innate ability to you were just like, hey, you put your hands
Perfect
on it,
word.
go this way a little bit.
Chiropractic is all about innate. You have an educated mind and an innate mind. The educated mind you can teach from day one till the time you die. The innate, you're born with. A baby is born with the ability to digest food, and the heart knows how fast to beat, and all those things. And your body should work exactly the way it's meant to work from cradle to grave, as long as no interference exists. And when interference exists, your body can't function any more than a light on the ceiling can work if the switch on the wall is off.
Well, within like 10 seconds of touching Paul, you were
Doesn't-
like, you mentioned like
doesn't
where
take
you
10
were
seconds.
touching.
Takes
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
but that's take anything that somebody is who's either in a profession or a skill or or a musician. I often equate. This kind of comes up sometimes where people will say, "Oh, the guy at the gym cracks my back." No, that's fine, and because we're pretty strong. Even the guy at the gym, he might not really probably help you all that much with what needs to be done, but our bodies are pretty strong and resilient. But the thing is, if you hand the guy at the gym a guitar and he picks it up, does that make him Eric Clapton? No. I've been playing the spine for over 30 years.
Muscle memory. Yeah.
When people say, how do you know what you're doing? I don't know. How does Eric Clapton know how to play a G? I put my hands on your neck, and in my mind, I see the bones. I can feel things. I can know within reason how old you are. I can't see what's on an MRI, but I can feel things and know things and safely do things, so that I'm doing this 31 years. I haven't hurt anybody. And by the way, there's a lot of studies out right now. If you have a hurt back or neck, don't start taking painkillers.
Oh, God.
You go to a guy like me, and from the first visit, does your neck? It feels better. You don't need to become
away from those painkillers.
You don't need to become a drug addict. And they're finally starting to. They actually passed a law in Minnesota. I think was the first state to pass a law that if your back or neck hurts, or it's a work-related injury, you have to see a chiropractor first before seeing a medical doctor. What do you think's more dangerous? And again, if you see the guys that are writing the prescriptions, like I said, they'll sometimes say, "Oh, I can hurt you." Pretty scary, my tools. They have knives and they have chemicals, and I use my loving, very skilled, trained hands. Hurting people, you know what? If I walked over to Paul when he said to adjust him, and I made a fist and I hit him as hard as I could,
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Feel
but if
better?
I hit you as hard as I could, I might bruise you, I might hurt you a little bit. But with my training, my experience, and the intent to do exactly what needs to be done, why would I ever?
It's almost
hurt
like
you?
when people talk about like weight training and trying to get stronger, building like a mind-muscle connection and kind of thinking about what you're doing and keep proper mechanics. It's like that's like the
Everything
hand,
everything I
that's
do
like the
has to
hand
be-
spinal cord connection. Like like that's
The
impressive.
proper mechanics is so that I can give a great adjustment and also be doing this for 30 years and I haven't worn out my body.
Yeah.
When I'm teaching these students, I'm not only teaching them how to improve their adjusting skills, but also how to do it in a way that they're not going to bust their own body. Because you can't, if you don't know what you're doing, So
Well, any mental health or physical health professional has to really exercise self-care.
Definitely.
So just, yes, you definitely learn it in terms of when you're doing something and it comes back to you, when you're teaching it comes back to you. But just always, you have to work out, you have to meditate or pray, you have to,
Gotta take care of yourself. And just I want to enclose in this idea of in the field of social work, we have this idea where we can't help our clients any more than we help ourselves anymore. So meaning that if we want to help somebody else, we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. And I think that comes to all of our profession, right? It's like if you're at a center wanting to make connections, but you're giving off the energy, or if you're tense and you're dealing with a lot of pain physically and you're not getting it checked out and you're helping other people, that can in a way transfer over to them. And the same as you. If you're having a bad day and you do an art therapy workshop, people are going to feel the energy.
Right.
And in closing, I just wanted to say thank you guys for being on the show. Even though it might be so different and also so similar at the same time, which is pretty cool. I love what you guys are doing. I support what you guys are doing. And I really do hope that all you come back on and you see the show grow. And we also, over time, see you guys grow. So thanks again, guys.
People's
Thank you.
Podcast. Way to go, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Yeah, we know that's right. We know.
And I appreciate you not hitting me, Henry. You said you wanted to appreciate.
I'm a lover, not a fighter, and I don't really.
Special
I don't hit that.
adjustment. The
My best
roundhouse
fighting
kick.
move is ducking.
So question though, in the movies, in closing, we're just wrapping up now, but in movies when they do these crazy neck cracks and they break people's neck, is that even real crack breaks they're doing, or they're just Hollywood dramatized?
No. No. I mean, wait until you hear what it sounded like, because again,
it was a crack.
But the thing
It
is,
sure
again,
was.
this is important. Nothing is cracking when joints. Ready?
That's crack too. Yeah.
When joints are cavitated, there's nitrogen gas that, like, when you pop a balloon, it goes pop. Which is why if I do that again now, there's no gas that's built up. If I went over and adjusted your neck right now, it wouldn't make noise again. I could still align it, but it wouldn't make the noise.
Same noise.
So while people say, you go to the chiropractor, he cracks you, it makes cracking noises. But nothing gets cracked. You can crack an egg, but no, you don't really crack a neck. Yeah. And people have asked if I could hurt people, like you see in the Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what? I would, if I wanted to. I know the things that might be the wrong way, that the guy at the gym or the whoever does. They don't have any idea what they're doing. They just know, like I did that. That if they pick you up from behind and go
like this,
more than likely. Something's going to move. The idea of, again, one of the things that makes me different than them or a competent, skilled chiropractor is that even with what I did with you in that short period of time, I checked the 7 vertebrae in your neck for alignment, for movement. I know exactly what's misaligned, how to realign it, and then to do it, it's just...
It was methodical. I mean, you knew what you were doing, you felt it, and bam, it felt good.
So, no, we had a great night tonight, and
Wonderful.
I felt like we made some friends. Like if we bumped into people, like the other guests, we'd be happy to see them, out in the community. That's kind of what Paul has always done, is help connect people.
I think the best part of the show is that you have all sorts of different people from different backgrounds coming together to kind of spread knowledge, whether it's art therapy, whether it's chiropractic, and even social work as well. The spreading of knowledge, I think, in itself is just, it's invaluable as well. So.
It's nice to sit around and vibe with other people that just we might all be in different walks of life and have different career paths, but we all have the same mission of helping people, like
Exactly.
Dr. Henri had said. So very, very cool energy, very cool show.
Yeah, this was a great experience, and I very much believe in synchronicity in the universe, and I think people wind up coming together for a reason and making those connections. It's all about connections. And just in all the years that I've been doing this, and it's 45 years, which is pretty hard since I'm only 40, right? It's just always being these kind of wonderful things that have happened that, and you move forward, and people are... Sometimes it's hard to believe that there's good people left in the world when you watch the news, and so this is, the work that you've done, Paul, is great. This podcast is great, and the work that all of you guys do is fantastic, and I just have always loved what I did, and it was nice to have an opportunity to come and talk about it, and get the word out.
This has been overall a really fun experience. Paul runs a very professional program here. That it's very cool, him bringing together people from different walks and talking about what they do, and everybody, kind of just vibing in the sandbox together. I think this is great. I've really had a lot of fun, and I hope to come back at some point, and I'm really happy to tell other people about this that might be good guests for People's Podcast as well.
All right. Good luck, People's Podcast. Peace out.